Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of Breakdown, the Poet and the Poems. I am your host, Tamara J. Madison, and I happen to be a poet as well. And our guest today, I'm so excited because I have had my eyes on this lady for a while. Our guest today is the Dr. Mahogany L. Browne. All right. What? Huh? Hey, the. Okay, what would you like for me to call you? I should have asked you that.
Whatever feels good.
Okay. I like mahogany, the idea of something rich and dark.
Love it.
That works? Okay. All right. So just in case, the rare case that somebody does not know who you are, I do want to share a bio right quick. And then we're going to jump into your book. We're going to be here discussing Mahogany's book, Chrome Valley. All right. Mahogany L. Browne is a Kennedy Center's Next 50 Fellow and McDowell Arts Advocacy Awardee. She is a writer, playwright, organizer, and educator. Her books include Vinyl Moon, Chlorine Sky, Black Girl Magic, and Banned Books, Woke, A Young Poet's Call to Justice, and Banned Book, of all things, Woke Baby. We're just going to leave that right there. Browne is currently touring Chrome Valley, highlighted in Publishers Weekly and the New York Times, and is the 2024 Madison Poetry Prize winner. She holds an honorary Doctor of Philosophy degree awarded by Marymount Manhattan College, and she is the inaugural poet in residence at Lincoln Center. Welcome, Dr. Browne. How are you?
Thank you. I'm all right. I'm holding on. We did a nice little pulse check earlier, and it still feels the same. I feel really good being here with you. Every time I'm in your presence, whether it's an AWP conference or some other literary teaching space, you just like light up the room and remind me that I am, I get to move in the world with good people like you. So I feel great.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to take this moment to say that I don't think a lot of people realize that the poets that I have in this space, I don't know them personally. And it's really important. I was thinking about this earlier this afternoon. It's really important for me to say this because people come to this space sight unseen. A lot of them don't know necessarily who I am personally or what my agenda might be. And that's a lot. That's a whole lot. But it's important for me to say because it speaks to the graciousness and the generosity of poets. Not everybody, but a lot of poets who are just doing the work because it's needed, not because they're getting paid, not because there's the opportunity for 1 million new followers, but because the work needs to be done. Yes. And so I wanted to take a moment and just acknowledge that because you're definitely one of those people.
Thank you. Thank
you. Yeah. And I want to say too that I chose Chrome Valley because this particular series of breakdown, I'm focusing on what I call lineage literature, right? And that is poets who are writing about their lineage or they're heavily influenced by their own personal family histories. And so I chose Chrome Valley, and this platform for me has been about the book that calls to me, not necessarily the book that just came out last week, right? And so this is just right on time. So I want to start with reading you my own breakdown blurb for your book.
Okay.
This is always scary for me, but I challenge myself after I read a book to write a blurb because I feel like it's a good writer's exercise. And I've never written a blurb like this before.
Ooh,
Okay. Mahogany L. Browne's Chrome Valley is a love story, American Black, blackened and fecund. It is also a snake rattling and hissing loudly, biting hard, real hard. Browne boldly grasps the fevered flesh, sucks the poison, spits, and resurrects the love with a poet's precious kiss.
Oh, so poetic. So beautiful.
You know, I don't think I've ever done one that was this poetic.
Mm. What do
Not
you
like this.
what do you think caused that? Like because you're a poet, you read poetry. So what of this moment was the invitation to like get that poet pen going? Because that was a poem. Amen.
Well, I think first of all, because poetry is my first language, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it was also your work. There was just something, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but there was just something so deeply sensual about your work, right? There are times when the sensual is highlighted, but it's always the satin and the silk,
Hmm.
right? You have this way of diving into the sensual and you take the satin, the silk, and the grit,
Hmm.
right? Like all of it. And I think that's what influenced the blurb
Hmm.
as it is. Yeah. So I want to start. We're not necessarily going in chronological order, but I would like to start. Thank you again for coming. Um, with Homer, Louisiana. And I would like for you to read only part 5. And I'm doing that because I have so many poems that I would like for you to touch on and so many things that I want to ask you.
Your people come from Homer, Louisiana. And all you know is the tale of the night when your grandpa Lester stole your great grandma Octavia and great grandpa Nell from the spit shine sharecropper into dirt poor freedom up north. How they threatened to lynch him and his dog before daybreak. How his slick mouth was a gunshot wound waiting. And you never heard him whistle Dixie. No, only his southern twang riding high in Oakland, California. Brown cracked fists shield his eyes from the top of the porch every morning, like prayer, and watch the sunrise.
Okay. So that's the first poem in the book. And I want to ask you, most people know of you being in Brooklyn, from Oakland, but you decided to start with Homer, Louisiana. And I wanted to ask you why.
I think what you talked about earlier, you noted on lineage. I thought I can't think about just the place of my becoming. I have to think about the place that allowed me to become. And if that's the case, it was my grandfather refusing to have his dog lynched, to be lynched, running in the shadow of the night from Homa, and then going back to get his parents, my great grandparents. And that just knowing that that was the journey, that was like, that was literally life or death. I would be here or not, right? My father would not be here. Their 7 children, my uncles and aunt would not be here. They would not have, we would not have ever had in Oakland, California, had he not shown that kind of bravery. So I wanted to start at the beginning. I wanted to show that every breath has been stolen from death. Every breath that we take, that I continue to take, is, is an affront against white supremacy. I was built that way. It's baked in our DNA. So yeah, it felt like fitting. It felt fitting.
And even though that's every breath, we still find ways to love,
Absolutely.
right? Because when
Absolutely.
I was reading this, I was thinking to myself, that's a love story to go back and get, to
Mm,
retrieve, to bring forward in spite of the risk,
yes.
right? That's a very deep and very powerful love story. And we always have other folks telling us that we don't have love stories, right? I'm not going to go there just yet, but I do want to ask you, why is the title Chrome Valley?
I wanted to think about the Valley of California in which I traversed, of course, because a lot of these poems are memories and reminders and small histories of what it was like growing up in California. So I'm thinking about that specific area. I'm being, honest about the region, but also nodding at, the valley as in, the Bible verse. And I walk through the shadows of the valley of death. Uh, Shout out to hip hop as well. Always, bringing back the scripture. And Chrome is looking at the sleekness, the defiantness, and the deadliness of guns and the violence in hand-to-hand combat, and how those things are also violence is very much the blood of the engine that moved through this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me because as I was reading, I remember thinking to myself that the violence has just become so very common,
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to really, really focus on the love stories in spite of, right, the
Mm-hmm.
violence. And I thought to myself, how beautiful. And that's what I meant by that snake in the blurb. The snake is that violence, but
Yes.
you have this way of confronting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pulling out the poison and
Mm-hmm.
finding that beauty, which I think is very rare because
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy for us to get caught up in everything else but that, right? And you just have just a lovely way of reminding us that the love abides.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go next to Love Song, page 66. So I was shuffling between that
Mm-hmm.
and Muddy Water,
Ah,
but I decided on this one,
yeah.
um, because it's your grandparents' love story. You read that for us,
Yes.
please?
Yes. And the love song specifically is a continuum of Muddy Water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I love that you are noting that the violence is there and that love prevails. I think originally when I came to writing the poems that um, compiled and created Redbone, which was my first full length poetry collection, nominated for an NAACP. A lot of those poems about my grandparents and my mom and my father that are in Chrome Valley were in there. So that was absolutely an investigation of how I learned love. And I didn't want to be I didn't want to fall into the mud of just the violence, because yes, it did happen. It does happen. And it does not make us, right? It does not make us who we are. It is a condition of our survival. And unfortunately, the pattern of violence is that it is one of the most heirloomed things in my family. So, Love Song is an
Hold
attempt.
on. Before
Yeah.
you read that, I got to mention that
Mm-hmm.
because I read a lot of your work when I was doing your entry for the DLB, the Dictionary of Literary Biographies. And I started noticing that I was like, wait a minute, but this person was in this book and this person appears here, right? And then when I started reading this, I was like, oh, Lily is back. She's here again, all over again, right? I knew Redbone was there, but I was like, Lily back again, right? And I just have to say that I love that because there are times when I have these side conversations with poets about whether they want to toss a poem or whether it should be kept, or what should I do, should it be 3 minutes to 50, whatever, right? And I always try to remind people, I'm like, hey, it's yours. You can
Mm-hmm.
do a remix.
Mm-hmm. You
You
can
can
come back.
pull a character back as many times as you want. You
That's
can pull a poem forward and remix it in. If musicians do it, why don't we do that more?
right.
And I see you doing that all the time, and it's continually evolving, which
Yeah.
means that you don't have writer's block because there's a wealth there and you're aware of that wealth. So I just wanted to mention that
Thank you.
before you dive into Love Song.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Love Song for Elsie Jean and Paul. I never heard my grandmother say I love you to my grandfather. My grandfather would sooner say he loved us ashy brown pawn pieces and children. Your grandma just mean. He'd smile with honesty, weeping from his wrinkles. My grandmother, a brown stone dish proper and hot water cornbread, paid him no mind. Her neck a swivel swing, cracked his old man banter, ignored him like loud sirens serenading Oakland sky on Friday. I ain't studying you, she waved, kitchen spoon, swim in gravy or collard greens. Her hips swayed along to the rhythm under her breath. His eyes danced along. She pretended she didn't know he was checking for her beat. Later, the cancer ate through his bones like chalk. She stayed oiling his flaking skin and scrubbing fluid from the walls with Clorox. She stayed humming a song through the nights his lungs lurched for air. Only her hips and his memory still knew the words.
How you feel when you read that poem, Mahogany?
I remember them so vividly. It brings them closer to me. It makes me miss them. It was such a funny thing to watch because I just used to think that was ordinary. Like they're always like their arguments at that point weren't physically violent, but it was like, this they were just sharp. They were always so sharp. And he would just laugh and look away. And I thought, why is she so mean? And then of course I learned the stories, of what they both survived. And how his violence, impacted her, like broke her nose and all these other things. And the abuse finally stopped when I think she stabbed him in the leg with one of them little cooking knives, cooking forks for like the barbecue. And that's when the fighting stopped, when she finally struck back. And just to know that story existed in a time when I was old enough to know, but I didn't see it, right? There's things that don't happen in front of the kids. So to know that story after the fact, and then to like start having these memories or looking at pictures and just pulling together the pieces, it was really just fascinating how love can morph and become something bigger than your grief or your tolerance, but also love for self. Because when my grandmother finally said enough is enough, and that's no more, and I'm willing to leave everything. Yeah, I love that poem because it taught me who I am, like the way I am, like my hard nose or no, my my wrinkled laughter at children is absolutely for my grandfather. So I see in their moments a lot of my like making.
Why do you think they stayed together?
Hmm, great question. I think love, of course. I also think dysfunction. Like it's just what was it easier to keep a I don't know the songs back in some
Cheaper
of
to
them
keep her. Cheaper to
cheaper to
keep
keep
her.
a that like I think a lot of those things, but I think love was always present because we would not be if it wasn't. She would not have stayed and helped him transition, if love wasn't there. I think like they stayed because they remembered what it was built on, even when it got really bad.
Mm.
Even when we lost sight, and I say we as the universal family, even when we lose sight because addiction is louder and forgetting is favorable, and delusion is grand. I think, yeah, there's a way to find your way back to the essence if you sit still long enough. And I think they did that. I think old age allows you also to really come to terms with what's the deal breaker, you know?
Hmm.
Who's your person? Who makes you feel most seen, most heard, most held? So I think a lot of that had to do with maybe some codependence. I'm not saying it was all lovely. It can't be. Like if you read the book, it was not. But I think there are just different things that folks were building towards, and they knew that they could build more together than apart.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking about the knife and the leg and the broken nose, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm that kind of woman. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. But
I'm not.
at the
That's what that's who my grandmother raised, right?
uh,
She went through it, and I will never, right?
mhm,
She would never, like, she would buck up. She
mhm,
would buck up from the other side to assure that I wouldn't be that person, and that's what I was taught.
mm,
But also, you know who taught me that? My grandfather. He said,
mm,
"Don't ever let nobody do this to you. Don't ever let nobody do." Like, he wasn't at that point physically violent anymore because he was much older and frail. But seeing it on TV, seeing how it looked, outside of his body, he's like, "Don't ever let no one do that to you, ever. We got you." So there's a lot of learning that happened. Things that I think even parents of the now have learned. You can't just say, "Do what I say," and not as I do. You can't,
mhm.
right? You got to show me. Make that example a lived truth, so I can follow the blueprint. And they would not allow me to think that that was okay
Mm.
at all. So for me to even be, I would think I was 14, 15, and I was fighting boys, and they were like, "That's right, that's my granddaughter." Like, my grandfather was happy that I was brazen and on the basketball court trying
Mhm.
to. They thought, okay, she's going to be okay. She'll be okay.
Yeah. There's something, it's interesting how you contrast the opening and the closing
Mhm.
of the poem, and it just makes you, it makes me as the reader ruminate on all that happened in between.
Yeah.
There is such beauty and such tenderness in that decaying state at the
Mm,
end.
mm,
Like somehow, some way or another, in spite of the broken nose, the knife in the leg, and all the stuff that happened in between, it's like they held on to some kind of essence of something of each other
yeah.
that got them to this point at the end.
Mhm.
And that holding, I think, is very rare. It's very, very rare because I noticed the wording that you used when you were telling that story about the knife. You said she was willing to walk away.
Mhm.
She didn't run. There's
Mhm.
that they're two totally different things.
Mm,
And so there was obviously not a fear, right? There was a confrontation and a love, but not a fear.
mhm.
And the other thing that I was thinking when I read this, as well as the next poem that I'm going to ask you to read, I was tickled by the fact that you peeped and had the nerve to document the sensual, sexual nature of your grandparents. I was like, oh, look at Mahogany, right? All up
Yeah.
in their business, right?
So see?
And I that's the reason why you're a poet, right? And I was thinking about how, oh God, for so many children, the idea of any romantic sexual notion at all from the parents or the grandparents, it's like, oh, that's so taboo. And you dive right in. Like I was like, and I was thinking about it and I was wondering, was that something that you noticed earlier on, or did it take you maturing to
Mm.
really tune into that as a reflection?
Absolutely the latter.
Okay.
I was not watching them, and like, I really thought, I don't even know how they had 7 kids. My grandmother, 8 kids. My grandmother slept on the couch for my entire youth and adulthood entirety. I've never seen them share a bedroom. She had, because the fighting was such a thing that once they broke up, right? We're gonna live under the same house, but I'm gonna have the couch and you're gonna have that room, and you're gonna leave me alone. That's
Mm,
that. So I had never seen them together. So I was like, whatever. But then there was a moment where I would hear him go, "Ooh, you mean?" And I just thought, oh my goodness, that's kind of sweet. So sweet. Why is he like whistling at her? And like I would hear those things, but not really clock it until he had passed. And I'm looking at pictures, and now I'm looking at the pictures when they were younger and he's staring at her, or when they're older and her back is turned to him and he's sitting there with his cup of coffee and she's at the stove, and then everything rushes back. So it's absolutely, I had to sit with it and had to be in my memory bank for a little while. I didn't clock what was happening though. I had to mind my business.
So you know where we're going next, right?
Tell me.
We are going to Redbone Dances.
Oh,
We're
my
gonna go
stuff.
back to page 7. We're gonna go back to page 7. I told you we weren't gonna follow the order of the book.
Yep.
So when I read this, I was like, okay, you know what? This was the kind of poem that would have gotten your butt beat. Have your mother and father ever seen this piece?
My father has been in prison and still is for the majority of my life. I think the last time I saw him, my daughter was 1. She is 28.
Okay.
My mother did get to see this, and I perform this normally with like a bassist and 2 dancers, and they both are acting out the parents, and it's really lovely. She thought it was amazing, so that's okay.
Okay.
I was fast though. You're not wrong. Definitely was minding somebody else's business.
Oh yes.
But
Because it says a lot about you that you were this observant, right? And then you knew how to articulate it as well. Go ahead, Redbone Dances.
if you ain't never watched your parents kiss, ain't never have them teach you about the way the lips will bend and curve against a lover's affirmation. If you ain't watched the knowing nod of sweethearts worn away in soft as the speaker box's blown out hiss. If you ain't sure there was a time when their eyes held each other like a nexus, breaking the lock to dip dark marbles into hopeful corners of a shot glass. If you ain't never known a Saturday night slick with glittered promises and clouds wrapped wet in a pendergrass croon, pardon me, in a pendergrass croon. If you ain't been taught how a man can hold you close, so close it looked like a crawl. If you ain't had the memory of your mother and father sliding hip to hip, their fingers hip to hip, their feet whisper a slow shuffle and shift, her hand on his neck, grip the shoulder of a man that will pass his daughters bad tempers and hands like bowls. If you ain't watched a man lean into a woman, his eyes slide across her bronze, his hands pillared in her auburn hair, her throat holds the urge to hear how her voice sounds against the wind of him. If your skin can't fathom the fever of something necessary as this, then you can't know the hurricane of 2 bodies, how the bodies can create the prospect of a sunrise, how that sunrise got a name. It sound like a blues song, a woman's heart breaking from the record player, skipping the sky, almost blue.
What happened to you when you read that poem, Mahogany?
Um, Once you say like it's intimate, I was like, oh, it is a little intimate, but
Oh, it
usually
is.
it,
Yeah.
I read it before that note. I was able to like let it be a couple dancing, just a couple, not my parents, you know, because truthfully, the poem is written because I had never seen them dance,
Mm.
never seen them together. I had never seen the love that made me. So this was me looking at pictures and kind of like, okay, this was a party. They had to dance here. Like I'm putting together a storyline from a picture. And then from that moment, I went and started asking my mother, my aunts, my uncles, my grandmother questions about like, what was it like for my parents to be together? Do you remember? Like, just tell me what you remembered. Um, and then recording their answers. That's when I called it the red wine interviews because People don't want to be interviewed, when you're talking about the past, especially. Not usually, they don't want that, not family history anyway. But if the wine is flowing, it's all funny jokes. And they're really scary, sad moments that you're like, this is not funny. But when you get, like, Black people will do, when you get away from the trauma, you will find the silver lining of humor. That's the only way that you can hold it without it breaking you.
And maybe they were laughing because they were on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Because it's not gonna break me now. I made it out. And now you can find the humor. You can find the humor in it. In the moment, I'm not so certain. Couldn't find the humor in it then. They was fighting for their lives. They were fighting for their lives. I'm just thankful that I was able to have those conversations with them. Uncles, all of my uncles except one have since passed since that book came out. Um, and they were like key, because they so much looked up to my father that they were able to give me like the love aspect that my mother could not offer me, right? That I can't remember. So having their voice and their memories be a part was, I feel very lucky to have that.
So, what did it do for you to unearth that tenderness? Like when you discovered this moment through
Mm,
those interviews, through those stories, and that, what did it do for you? Since you said you never ever saw it yourself, when
mm.
you discovered that this indeed was at one time and that it's real, what did that
Mm.
do for you?
Um, it told me that I deserve love, even if I didn't have it coming up. Like I didn't have it, right? I didn't see it every day, so how could I have it? Or it wasn't modeled for me, so how would I know what it looked like? I think it gave me some tethering. I wasn't just this, flighty thing. I've been writing about it recently, just like, the act of swoon, being like knocked off your feet. Like I used to want that so bad growing up. Uh, and I realized it was because I never saw it in my home. I only had TV as this example. So girls having like, the teddy bears and the flowers, the Valentine's Day crawl, having that, like I never experienced that. I just wanted that, like, to be so loudly loved, to be so um prized, right? And unabandoned.
Mhm.
Like just to have those three things in my young girl black body and self and mind and how I was moving. Like I just wanted that to exist for me because in my house it wasn't there. In the relationships that surrounded, the people, the adults of my home, my household, and my family, it wasn't there. It wasn't prevalent. It was only like maybe A Different World. I saw it. Maybe The Cosby Show. Like those, The Rock. Like you see them splitting moments, but so far removed.
I get it. I
Mm,
get it. I remember saying to my husband one day, I said to him, I was like, baby, you don't understand.
mm,
Like, I grew up seeing my father and uncles walk in the room and my mother and aunties rolling their eyes like, here he go. You know what I mean? I saw so much of that. Like
yes.
in the family, in the neighborhood or whatever, that when it
Yes.
was time for me to engage with something different, it took me a while, right, to
Mm,
catch the rhythm of something different, right? Being loved in a different kind of way and learning to recognize it, right?
yes.
But it is, I was thinking when I read this piece about how important it is for the child to be aware of this, but
Mm,
also how it preserves something that
Mm-hmm.
perhaps the parents themselves could not preserve, right?
Mm-hmm.
You took this you took this beauty of the two of them together and you preserved it in a mason jar that became this poem.
Mm.
And
Thank
that
you.
kind of stuff is so easy to forget,
Yes.
right? And you
Yes.
can, that means that you can take it off the shelf whenever you need to and take the top off and take a whiff whenever you need a reminder, right? Okay. All right. So speaking of Redbone
I
dancing,
love being here with you. I just love when you get to poeming. It just feels effortless and absolutely divine.
oh, you know what that is. That's our first language.
It's
It's our
okay. It's
first
so
language.
common to know. This is not a normal thing. All right.
Oh, okay.
You are exemplary. All right.
Okay. I received that. I received that. I humbly received that. All right. So you know where we're going next, right? We have to go back to back with Bambi like
Oh,
and Bam Behind Bars.
ah,
All right.
yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off, but when you mentioned your uncles
Hmm.
and everything, I was like, okay, this is perfectly in alignment.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be so beautiful to take that slow dancing in the living room and then look at who each of them is individually. So if you read those two for us.
Bambi like Redbone was something else. Man, she kept me on my toes, boy. She caught me cheating on her, drove me to old girl house and said, "Tell that bitch you coming home." Bam behind bars after beating a man with the baseball bat. I let him live, didn't I?
So that's
Accurate.
where you come from.
Accurate.
That's where you come from. Right, right.
Accurate.
And for those who don't know, that last piece, when you see it on the page, the title is up here. And when Bam says, "I let him live," then it's all the way at the bottom of the page where you can't put any more after that. It's like there's no more to be said, right?
Damn near a footnote. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that, and mind you, I'm speaking to the audience or whoever's going to be watching this. This is the same man who held this woman so gently, right,
Mm,
on this dance floor.
mm.
It's all there. It's all in the mix, right? And what I want to say is, and I have been thinking this for days while reading this book, it is so important that we claim our own love stories
Mm,
and stop comparing them to anybody else's.
mm. Yes.
What marriage looks like for us based on where we come from and what we have survived should look different
Mhm.
than the Brady's experienced it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Or anybody and anything else. And I mean the Brady's like the Brady Bunch, right? Um, we when we compare ourselves to that, we do ourselves such a disservice. And I think
Absolutely.
that was one of the reasons why I love this was because there was no comparison. It was like we're
Mhm.
going to stay right here in this and we're going to explore all of this because this is more than enough,
Mhm.
you know? I want to ask you this. I'm not asking you to read any of these pieces, but Bam's other woman, what's her name?
Oh, I forgot that lady.
What was her name? The one that was sitting on the steps?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Um,
I just wanted to ask you out of curiosity, did you, and I'm asking this partly because
Rita.
Rita, yeah, Rita. Um, I want to preface this first by saying in this platform, we're focusing on the love story. But the other thing that happens so boldly in this book is this young black girl learning what to do with her black body and
Mm,
how to navigate the matrix with her black body, right? And you do that in a very bold fashion. There are a lot of things that we don't like to talk about, and you make us look at them in this book. This whole thing of little black girls being over sexualized when they just trying to learn with these new parts and this pubic hair is just like everybody else. But when it comes to us, all of a sudden it's this whole new big deal and all of that type of thing, right? And so I love how you treat that as a part of this book too. But one of the things that it made me wonder, especially when I was reading about Rita,
Mm.
did you ever compare yourself to Bam's other women? Or did you even know about them at that time when you were growing up as a young girl?
Yeah, I had no idea about
Okay.
his extracurricular activities. None.
Okay.
Even me finding out about Rita was well into like that. Those were uncles telling me that story. Um, Maybe my aunt said something about her too. Yeah, I had no idea about the other women. So there was no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I did have the moment of like when I met the new family. I think I was 18. That was my third time being around him. And he had been released after like a 10, 11 year stint, 7, 8 year stint. And he was with this woman. He was like, I'm marrying her because, she's the one that stayed around the longest. She waited, and that's the least I can do for her. And I was like, what? I was just like mind blown. And now I was like, this is not romantic. Like, this is not like the movies. What are you talking about? I might as well. That's crazy. I think when I met her, I was sad for her more than I was like, what about mom? And I knew that wasn't happening. She had her own fiance and other issues. So she was on her own. But I did look at how he was raising this woman's daughter. And she called him daddy, and they had a lovely relationship. And I was just like, I don't like that, So I think I looked at you're able to be a father for other people's children. You're able to be daddy for other people. That was wild. That was a wild moment for me. But the other women, once I knew that was a thing for him, which was very much a thing for a lot of men in my family, I didn't think about them as examples or reflections or how do I compare.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to box wine.
Mm,
Yeah.
this is
Red
Redbone.
bone and box wine, page 19.
This is Redbone's time. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Redbone and box wine. And this is anytime a Redbone shows up in the title, it is her voice because I actually interviewed her. So these are things she said. And of course, I had to poetize some of it and, line break it, but the majority is her. You were the hardest to raise. You just needed too much. By the time he was 13, maybe 14 years old, I was done being anybody's mama. I had us a nice place, a desk job for the state. I had me some friends with no drama, just music and cools, playing cards and box wine. You like to drive me crazy, always asking about Bam, where and when he coming to visit, if he's gonna send some more of them earrings in that broken china box that turn your ears all types of nasty colors. I still don't know where they come from. All I know is I smell another woman on the hot plastic. But hell, I let you be. You ain't got much to remember him by, no how. You got his eyes though. Yeah, them all his.
How does it feel to walk around with your father's eyes?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a great question. I didn't think I had his eyes. I thought I had hers. I definitely felt like I walked around with his rage. I have his rage. Um, and if I'm quite honest, his rage has saved me plenty of times. There have been times that rage activated, and whatever person thought that they was trying to get over on me in that moment, whatever man thought he was trying to put his hands on me in that moment, they reconsidered. And I saved both of our lives because I didn't have to go to jail for taking them out. You know, that's the kind of heat that always rose to the forefront. So when she said his eyes, I laughed because I was like, I got your eyes. I look like you. What are you talking about? Like, I really do look like my mother completely. She is just a light skinned, freckled version of me.
But
But
when she looks at
when
you,
she said it, I thought, oh, that's so sweet. You can't see. What do you mean?
you just wasn't having it. You weren't going to claim that, were you? Okay. Okay. I'll leave that right there. I'll leave that right there.
But when I thought of the eyes as the soul, then I said, yes, I do, because I have the rage of him in
Mhm.
my, it's in there deep. You know, there's sometimes I can't even name what makes it happen, but I can feel it becoming something that's larger than me. So I accept it in all of the ways in which it can, hold space. To walk around with it though. I honestly, it's one of my like, I'm always thankful that I am not ashamed of my rage. You know, I think as women, we've been taught to button up, be ladylike, don't do that, even at the expense of your safety, even at the expense of what you might look like. And that part of me just was never, I could never imagine not holding my rage like a baseball bat. I could never imagine like that has really been a part of my being. And I attribute that to my father. He was a
What a gift.
rageful man, and he did not care who knew. And I just thought, how free, like how liberating. You don't have to hold your tongue. I want that. I want that. I want to be honest about what I see. I want to be angry if I need to be. And I don't want to make it pretty for someone to say that I'm acceptable. So, yeah, I think in that sense, I'm very, very thankful that I get to walk this planet with something that has protected me so well.
What a gift.
Mhm,
What a gift. And
mhm,
it says a lot about you because you opened up to receive it.
mm,
Sometimes we have gifts, but we don't dare touch them, let alone pick them up off the table.
mm.
That says a lot. That says a lot. That's
Okay.
because you're not going to play small. You're not going to play small at all. And so many women, young, old, girls, what have you, need to see that. And they need
Yes.
to see, and I think the difference is you've found healthy ways to direct that fire, right? Which is also a gift. And so, in speaking of your fire, we're going to go to pickpocket. Let's go to pickpocket next.
Okay.
And while we finding it on page 78,
Mhm,
I just want to make sure that it's not just me and my
mhm.
mind, but this is a sexual poem, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay. It's that and many other things, but I was like, listen, I read it a few times. I was like, oh
Mhm,
my, right? And I want to go back for a minute to what you said about your rage. And
mhm.
if we think of rage as fire, right? Fire has the power to purify, it has the power to destroy, and a whole bunch of other things. And I know this may sound corny because it's a colloquial expression now, but this poem is fire. And when I read it, I was like, oh, she is empowered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Pickpocket.
I love your read. This is absolutely that's fire. Thank you.
Wait, though. I put in my notes,
What your
it
notes say?
reminds me of Nina Simone, not somebody else's version, but Nina Simone singing, I Put a Spell on You. Okay?
That's that's great because
There you go.
I played that. If you notice from page 58 on, that was the adult version of the narrator. She went from watching her parents, learning from her grandparents, to page 58 was the moment that she's like, all right, now I'm in my skin. I'm walking in the club for the first time. What is that like? And
Mm.
everything from 58 thereafter is the reckoning, like my sexuality, how women are told to, be quiet and proper, and how I can decide for me what I want, even though I'm still very much informed by how my parents moved or didn't move, how my father was here or wasn't here. Pickpocket. At night, his maw opens wide. My name sings out like a broken swan, each syllable a fluttering mess of yes, a ligament torn testimony, how I renamed myself, signed my black into a shiny weapon. When I am in full arch, I be smoke, I be full lipped and moon woman, until sharp blues become slow. Oh, watch my hands pickpocket the night and bless everything I touch until holy. Mm.
So I want to bring to your attention, you just told me a story about your grandmother having a knife and stabbing your grandfather in the leg.
Mhm.
I renamed myself, singed my black into a shiny weapon.
Mhm.
And I read that line several times and I thought of power. And to me, that says that the speaker knows she has the power to kill or
Mm.
to harm, but she
Mm.
chooses not to and
Mm.
just decides to put a spell on you instead. Right? So
You're
I
welcome.
just wanted to know, did you make that connection between you and your grandmother in that moment, or is it just me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think that, she was the blueprint. She taught me, first, if I'm honest, anything romantic that I read within my first 15 years, like between 11 to 15, I was a heavy voracious reader, still am, but in that time frame, that's when I started reading Harlequin romance novels because my grandmother had a subscription and her entire walk-in vestibule had about 300 Harlequin romance books. You know how small them things is. 300 easily, easily.
Wow.
So I had begun to, like, if I couldn't go outside, which was often, I'm like, I'm gonna just read her books because I ran out of my books. And then I was like, no wonder she doesn't hear us when we're talking. It was a lot. It was a lot. So yeah, I started like leaning into the romance bag a little bit, remembering the Harlequin uh episodes.
No, no, no. I'm gonna say this is something different. This
Okay.
this is something different because after a while, I think the oh
Say it anyway.
okay. After a while, I think a lot of those books sound the same,
They do, sure.
and the love scenes just seem to be the same, and it ain't nothing new.
Sure.
But when you have the nerve to say that you can pickpocket the night and bless everything that you touch, that's different. You know what I'm saying? You're going into to deeper dimensions of your
Mm,
own power
absolutely.
and the sensuality, sexuality of the moment, right?
Mhm.
And it's even deeper than merely turning somebody out. It's something else, right?
Sure.
Because there's a righteousness to it that you
Mhm.
don't find all the time in those, kinds of books and things like that.
Mhm.
And I read it a few times and I was like, "Oh." You know what I mean? I was like, and then I checked to make sure nobody was in the room and then I would read it again, right? And I was like, "Oh."
Everybody looking over your shoulder.
Right, right. And this is refreshing because again, it's like when something strikes a new chord, like even
Mhm.
though you've made love thousands upon thousands of times, and something strikes a new chord,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that right there.
I think I brought up Harlequin because we were talking about my grandmother specifically, and that was just
Mm-hmm.
the nature of how I learned romance, right?
Mm,
But how I perfected romance in the Black body with the Black vernacular, I think it was Sonia Sanchez, quite honestly. So that's why Bless the Night shows up. That's why the O's, the sensual O. Thinking of the poems, I spread the poems on the bed at night and get high, like very like jazz influenced, Black liberation love fest in her work. And I think I married those moments, for sure. But I had no idea how to think about romance
Mhm.
until those little tiny books. But to like live romance in my body as a Black woman, it absolutely is Nina Simone's Spell on You. It's Nikki Giovanni's love letter haikus. I'm sorry, it's Sonia Sanchez love letter haikus, and it's Nikki Giovanni's love poems, bicycles.
Mm. Mm.
At
Thank
the
you.
mighty intersection, I think. At the mighty intersection.
I want to just flash back for a quick second to, you talked about how after a certain page, the voice of the speaker is her in her maturity, her
Mhm.
empowered, her being aware of where she comes from, what she wants to take with her, and what she's going to leave behind, right? And that is very evident to me in Pickpocket. And I think that heavily influenced the blurb that I wrote, right? But I just want to take a moment to pause and say that this takes a lot of work
Mm.
and a lot of practice. And when you are that kind of sister, it's very easy for people to think that you came into the world like that, right? And that for you it is effortless. And they don't know, oh my God, the deep and painful work that it takes sometimes
Yeah.
to arrive in this space.
Mhm.
And I don't think that they know either that you never forget
Mm.
before you had it. And when you see another woman who is not carrying hers and who does not know her ability to pickpocket, right? It still aches.
Mm.
It still aches.
Mhm.
When you are walking around or you're standing there as a flower with your face to the sun and the wind does not blow you over, it still hurts when you see wilted lilies everywhere,
Yeah. Mm.
which is the reason for doing this work.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like buck against I used to say, "Oh, I'm trying to, be a voice for the voiceless." And then I like started, I went to Pratt Institute for Writing and Activism, and just the kind of work that you start reading about, you realize that there is no empowering. Like you can only offer space for folks to do what they're going to do, but you don't. I can't place power, right? I can't give power. I can only remind folks that they have it within them, and I think that that's what that moment is about. That's what these poems are about, especially when I'm thinking about a Black girl loving herself unconditionally, a Black girl loving herself despite coming from a country that has made fun of her for like 25 years of her existence until they could profit off of it. Right. So, what is it like just to remind Black women of their magic? That's all my poems are trying to do, is just remind them to tap into the frequency, to remind them that we been that girl. We never needed America's Next Top Model to tell us we were that girl. We never needed to have um whatever billions and cajillions of dollars we know we are her. The issue is the gaslighting, right? The issue has always been, no, you need me to not know that I'm myself so that you can sell me something. All of this is a commercial. Oh no. So, yeah, what is it just to know, just to unlock that gate? I'm here to release the hinges of said gate, so we just know that we are her. In whatever way in which we choose to move through the world as Black women, you can be queer, you can be GNC, you can be whatever. It requires for you to feel like your whole self. Um, and you're still gorgeous, and you're still beautiful, and you're still undeniable. And like your melanin is beyond popping, right? Like you're beyond, you are the archetype. If we knew we were the archetype, ain't no way. Ain't no way. There's no way. You not selling me nothing. Nothing. You can sell me nothing. You can't sell me back to me.
Oh, I just heard when you said that, I just heard Andre 3000's You Are the Prototype. And I
Yes.
thought about the difference between prototype and archetype. You know, you got to write that poem, right?
Ah, you
You
want me
are
to
the
put
archetype, not the prototype, but the archetype.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so let's lift them up. Let's go to
Yes.
If We Praise.
Oh, okay.
If We Praise.
Oh, I love this piece too. We were able to do it for the documentary How to Build a City, and to hear this poem from so many different mouths, many different voices, it just did something different for me. So uh, I'm thankful that it resonated with you, and I get to say it. If we praise the names of our fallen, we lift the broken with our light. We praise their names and the hands that write. Praise the mouth that speaks. Praise the truth that soars from the spine of the most nimble creatures. Praise us creatures in our immodest fragility. Praise the humility, the learned spaces, the space that dissolves and births the wind. Praise the wind and the storms that change course. Praise the creatures born and reborn. Praise the boom, bap, split, silence shattered. Praise the fragmented bodies and heavy breathing like rain. Praise the rain, feeding our hearts in homes and leaves. Praise the green. Praise the black. Praise the bullet breaking brown flesh like fruit. Praise the fruit. Praise the stomachs and minds unfed. Praise the hungry. Praise the God in everything. Praise yourself, your own flesh, sinewy, boundless, overweight, glorious, and alive. Praise the life. Praise the durable love. Praise our sovereign journey. Praise the destruction. How it reminds us that ribs heal and purpled lips return perfect and point towards the sun. Praise the burial. Praise the new day and the healing. Praise the repetition, the times it will take us to remember we are beautiful. We are beautiful. We are beautiful and worth the stretched breath of the unimagined and unseen. Praise the nightmares we've endured, the salt we've tasted in our release. Praise the divine living and our voices reaching towards the sky, singing our own name.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Mm.
I have to say, though, something struck me that I don't think caught me until you read it.
Mhm.
Um, Worth the stretched breath of the unimagined and unseen.
Mm.
I read this piece more than once, but it was something about when you read it that line popped up to me. And it was like, okay, Afrofuturism,
Mm. Mm.
prophecy,
Mm.
long seeing it forward, all of that. We are worth all of that. The
Yeah.
stretched breath of the unimagined and unseen, and how important it is that we never lose that.
Yes. Yes. Just to imagine that your imagination has not even been cracked yet. Like just we haven't even dreamt of the liberation that we will have.
Mm.
We don't know the kind of revolution that's possible. We still trying to formulate off of something that happened in the 70s. They gave us a blueprint to start trudging forward, and we keep looking back instead of building on top of the foundation that they already fortified. We're too busy arguing with people who don't know what I'm arguing with you for.
Right.
Like, we gotta work. I'm not arguing with you. I'm building with my brethren and my kin. I'm building with the community rather than arguing about semantics. Do more. And I love the unimagined is just an invitation to do that. The unseen is just a reminder that you can open your eyes, start seeing it, start being it. But we it's ours. It's ours when we want it. It's
Yeah.
ours when we're willing to sacrifice for it, when we're willing to fight for it, when we're willing to refuse a no for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to say thank you too. When I was reading a lot of your work to do the DLB entry, and I was reading the, oh my goodness, uh, Sky, Chlorine Sky, and the other book, I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh my God, how different might my trajectory be
Mm,
if I had read those books as a young poet at 12 or 13.
mm, mm,
And I just want to say thank you for doing those books. Literally, literally, I still remember the black librarian in my neighborhood, and when she showed me the black poetry section in the library, and she just passed about 2 or 3 weeks ago,
oh wow, oh wow.
right? And so she was my Chlorine Sky, right?
Yes.
But what if on that shelf there had been that kind of book that was specifically for me, right? And my age, how different that would be. So
Mm,
I just wanted to also say thank you for writing those, because even obviously as an older woman, I still enjoyed reading those books, and it was exciting for me. So thank you for that and all the work that you're doing all of the time, and all of the work that you're continuing to do for yourself too, so that you can
mm.
keep going. I appreciate you and I thank you so much. And I'm going to end with a quote from Ramika Bingham. And
Oh,
I heard her say this out loud. And she mumbled it under her breath, so I don't know if she really knows that I was paying attention. She said, you show up for the work will show up for you.
come on, Ramika.
Enough
Come
said. Enough said. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anything that you want to tell us about or leave us with that we need to be looking for from you in
on.
the future?
I have two board books, two companion board books that are dropping in March. Yes, March. It's called Black Boy Take Flight and Black Girl Bloom Bright. And I have a new book of poems. They're about mindfulness and they're focused on our teen readers, and it's called Stay Human. And that's out with Haymarket next year.
Congratulations. And just
Yeah.
for people who don't know, board books are for small children, the ones with the thick pages.
That's
Right,
right. That's what
right.
woke baby is. So when
Mm-hmm.
them tried to ban it, it's now called aggressively challenged because board books cannot be banned. They are not in the K-12 curriculum. It's a board book. But it's up to us to keep that thing in stock. That's all I can say, because there are attempts to hide it in bookstores and take a picture, um, just touting that it's a bad book and raises liberal children and is racist, inherently racist, because it has a black baby on the cover.
Mm, mm. Well, I'm just going to put it like this. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to read at home
Mm,
and read to our children and not depend on anybody else to read to them or share the stories with them or interpret the stories for them. This is our opportunity to go to libraries on a Saturday afternoon for a change, right? And bring some of that back and spend some time together in a very intimate and a very different kind of way. So
yes.
we're just going to claim that as
Yes.
part of our unimagined.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Folks, it's a wrap. That's it for this particular episode of Break Down the Poet and the Poems. You can find more about Dr. Browne in the bio below. And we ask that you show the poet and show the poems some love. You can like, you can leave your reflections, you can subscribe, and please share and spread the word. And again, we hope that you'll join us for the next Break Down the Poet and the Poems.
This opportunity is made possible through the Literary Arts Projects, a program of South Arts.